At age 35, Steph Curry is still cooking crazy numbers, averaging 28 a ball game along with efficient shooting splits, and there's absolutely no doubt that he's still the big dog in the Bay Area. But despite all the rainbow threes and game winners that he's been splashing, along with the celebratory shimmies that usually come after those, the Warriors are just mediocre at best this season. And although they've been piling up wins recently, they're simply nowhere near their championship form compared to 2 seasons ago. I mean, you couldn't ask for more out of a 35-year-old man with the way he's carrying the dubs in his old and weary back. And it's just tough to be in Steph's position right now, because no matter how many points he's been putting up, it doesn't always guarantee a sure win for them, which kinda stinks big time. Let's face it, Steph is not getting any younger, and despite that he can still play at an elite level at his current age, he's already at the tail end of his illustrious career. In my opinion, Steph only has like 2 or maybe 3 more good years of basketball left in him. And with the trade deadline fast approaching, he's now at a crossroads as to whether he's willing to stick it out with his longtime teammates or replace them with fresh faces so that he can have a realistic chance of competing for another title this season. I hate to be in his shoes right now, but one way or another, Steph Curry has a difficult decision to make. Once upon a time, the Warriors had the best 5-man lineup in the league, featuring the Splash Brothers, Wiggins, Draymond, and Kevin Looney. But during this time, their bench was quite awful, and once their starters sat down, the Warriors struggled to find their groove offensively in their so-called non-Steph Curry minutes. However, things have been the opposite this season, as their bench unit is the one that's actually saving their season, and their starters, well, aside from Steph Curry, are playing really bad. Like, really, really bad. I mean, the other half of the Splash Brothers, Klay Thompson, is not the elite 3 and D guy anymore that he used to be. He's clearly lost a step defensively. Plus, he's not as lethal from range compared to previous seasons, as he's only hitting a career-low 37.7% from 3 this season. It has been reported that Klay was offered a 2-year, $48 million extension last summer, which he turned down because he wanted to bet on himself to prove that he was worth more than that amount. Well, as of this recording, he's just averaging 17.2 points a ball game. And although he's been playing really well over the last couple of games, Klay has been in a massive shooting slump all season long and still has a long way to go in order to prove himself in his contract year. Then, apart from Klay, Andrew Wiggins is also playing like he's already washed at just 28 years old, as he's only averaging a career low of 12.3 points a ball game this season. I mean, Wiggins was on the verge of becoming one of the premier 2-way wings in the league just 2 seasons ago, when he helped the Warriors win the championship. But after sitting out a bunch of games last season due to personal reasons, Wiggins started the season slow and is now playing like a shell of his former self. And then there's Draymond Green. Now, don't get me wrong, Draymond is actually playing well this season, averaging 9.7 points, 5.5 rebounds, 5.8 assists on 53.2% shooting from the field. And check this out, he's shooting a career-high 42.9% from the three-point line. I mean, this is the ideal stat line that the Dubs need from him whenever he's on the court. But, unfortunately, Draymond would always find a way to get himself off the court, whether it's about shoving people on their blind side, putting people in a sleeper hold, or just casually throwing a haymaker to this unsuspecting defender. He's already been ejected 3 times in 15 games this season, and has been suspended indefinitely, which means that we won't be seeing Draymond barking at the refs or trying to get under people's skin for a long, long time. With Steph Curry being the lone bright star in this dysfunctional starting lineup, there's a 0% chance that the Warriors can compete for a championship this season. And with the window slowly closing in the prime years of Steph, the Dubs front office guys, particularly Mike Dunleavy Jr. and Joe Lacob, will definitely make a move as the trade deadline approaches. Though the final verdict will be in the hands of Dunleavy and Lacob should they push for any trade, I think Steph has earned the right to have some say on who's gonna go and the player that they're going to acquire in return. The Warriors have a bunch of games left to be played before the trade deadline, and it's pretty interesting to see how the rest of the guys will perform during this stretch, knowing that someone's head will most likely roll one way or another. Anyway, according to multiple sources, there are a couple names that are floating around in the trade market that the Dubs are intensely eyeing. One of whom is Lauri Markkanen, and the other one is Pascal Siakam. Both Markkanen and Siakam are ideal fits in the Dubs system, because not only are they long, lengthy, and versatile, but they're also capable scorers who can hit from inside and out. Should the Dubs go hard for either of these two, they would most likely give up a huge chunk of their young guns like Kuminga, Moody, Potts, and a couple of first-round picks as well when they're about to offer their trade package. The new core of Steph, Klay, Wiggins, Draymond, and Markkanen or Siakam looks solid on paper and will definitely push the Warriors back on top of championship contention. However, they would be giving up their depth and youth in this trade, and if you observe their games recently, their young guns are actually the ones who have been keeping the team afloat with their energy and hustle. So, you see, the trade-off here is not as easy as you might think. Now, apart from those two, the other big name that has been circulated in the rumor mill is Zach LaVine. Although LaVine's name has been heavily linked with the Lakers, it's not possible that the Warriors would swoop in and offer Klay Thompson plus a first-round pick as well as one of their young guns just to push for this trade. It's pretty clear that Klay's injuries have taken a toll on him physically on both ends of the floor, as he's less effective now compared to before. With LaVine replacing him, Steph will have a new splash brother with younger legs, higher hops, and overall a better athlete. On top of these, LaVine is also a 3-level scorer and can take over ball games when he's in the zone, something that Klay used to do back then, but obviously not anymore this season. With LaVine's elite scoring, he can definitely take away some of the offensive load off of Steph's back, and this is something that the Dubs are extremely missing nowadays. Now, whatever happens, the Dubs front office will definitely consider Steph's opinion before any trade can be finalized. And this is where things could get problematic and personal to some extent. I mean, despite how unfortunate this season has been turning out for both Draymond and Klay, these guys have been there for the Dubs since day one. And along with Steph, both of them are the cornerstones that established the greatest dynasty of the modern era. Now, if you're Steph, taking a phone call from the front office saying that a big trade is going to go down, but it involves either Klay or Draymond in it, are you going to give the green light? Or are you going to call off the trade for the sake of friendship and loyalty? Draymond signed a 4-year, $100 million deal this offseason, indicating that the Dubs wanted him for the long haul. However, that all changed with his questionable and wild behavior as of late, which led to his indefinite suspension. And in almost the same breath, the Warriors offered Klay an extension, but as I said earlier, he turned it down in the hopes of getting a bigger bag. However though, this bet on himself is not paying off right now, and the fact of the matter is, it's actually backfiring on him big time. So you see, instead of getting guaranteed money, Klay's future become uncertain, and there's a chance that he might relocate to a new home by the end of the season, or much sooner than that, whenever the trade deadline arrives. As much as we don't want this big three to split up, this is the harsh reality that Steph has to deal with moving forward. I mean, there is still a chance that the Warriors could turn things around for them in the next couple of weeks, and if that happens, we can pretend that the conversation we just had never existed. But until then, both Draymond and Klay's names will be passed around like hot potatoes in the trade rumor mill. And eventually, Steph will have to make the hardest decision of his career. Is blood thicker than water to Steph, Or is he willing to say goodbye to his longtime brothers in the quest for another championship? Well, let's find that out in the next couple of weeks.